Froomfield, near Corunna, is named after the Talfourd brothers, Froom and Field, who came to Canada from England. They first settled near the mouth of Talfourd Creek, which had previously been known as Rivière Cerf and later as Commodore Creek. The two brothers came to Canada in 1832. Arriving on the first day of February, they settled at Caradoc, near Port Stanley, where they farmed for 2 years. In 1834, they set off on horseback to see Lake Huron and the St. Clair. En route, they stayed in a tavern in the village of Warwick overnight and found their landlord's provisions consisted of a barrel of flour, a barrel of pork, and a barrel of whiskey. The road ended at Warwick, and from there the brothers followed a trail through Plympton that George Durham had earlier blazed. They reached Errol and for the first time gazed on the waters of Lake Huron. They followed the lake to Port Sarnia, which at the time had 3 buildings, including a grog shop. They rode south through the reserve to what is now LaSalle Road. Just south of this road, Froom bought a 100-acre farm from a French-Canadian named Jean Petit. On the property there was a log house and a flour mill. Field, wanting to settle on 100 acres of government land, had to travel to Chatham to complete the purchase. The next year the Talfourd brothers sold their land in Caradoc. Field Talfourd stayed in Moore a year, clearing his land, and then returned to England to become a portrait painter. One of his paintings of Elizabeth Barrett Browning is still hanging in the National Art Gallery in London, England. Froom Talfourd had P.D. Salter survey his property into a village site with 4 streets. Where Highway 40 is now, he called Front Street. The other streets were Cross, Church, and Richard. In 1837, he married Miss Eliza Johnson on June 15th, Reverend James Adams conducting the ceremony. As Froom cleared 98 acres, which had been covered with mostly black walnut, he sold the timber to passing steamers. He built a red brick house with local tile from a brickyard at Front and Cross Street. Every year his parents sent him £30 from England. With this money he built St. Mary's Anglican Church at Froomfield. Field became quite prominent in the community as a result of his sobriety, his judicial fairness, and his business acumen. In 1833, at the age of 26, he was appointed a magistrate. During the 1837-38 rebellion, as a lieutenant colonel of militia, he had a volunteer company of 100 men. In 1858, he was named an Associate Justice of the Assizes. Talfourd's wife died in 1854. Her grave is around a memorial cairn in a spot which was formerly the church site. The year before his wife died, Talfourd accepted an appointment as superintendent to 6 Indian bands. Among the Indians, he became known as the Englishman who keeps his word. He had an office in Sarnia, and after marrying again in 1857 to Jane Thornton, he moved to Sarnia, where he built a cottage on Front Street, north of Derby Lane. When he retired, he received a pension of $400 a year. When Froom Talfourd decided to go to England, the Sarnia Indians gave him a banquet. At the banquet, he told them that he would give them a dinner on his birthday, December 4th, every year until he returned. He never did return to Lambton, but each year for the next 28 years, 400 or more Indians would sit down to a generous meal, which became known as the Talfourd Feast. These dinners continued until Froom Talfourd's death in England in 1902 at the age of 95 years.